Now at 11, the giant wall between the U.S. and Cuba continues to shrink, starting with trade and travel rules.
It always seems to be so cruel to me that our country would keep families apart.
President Obama makes it easier for Americans to visit the island and send money to relatives, while critics charge him with strengthening a brutal regime. The U.S. Transportation Department says it's looking to reestablish regular, scheduled flights to Cuba for the first time in decades.
This as new travel and trade rules go into effect tomorrow ahead of meetings between the U.S. and Cuban officials on the island next week. CBS 4's Lauren Pastrana is live at Miami International Airport with more. Lauren.
Erica and Rick, don't pack your bags for that tropical Cuban vacation just yet, though. Tourist travel to the island is still banned under law that would have to be overturned by an act of Congress. Now, even people who make their living off of flying people to and from the island admit they're unsure exactly how this new policy will really play out.
When the phone rings at this Southwest Miami-Dade travel agency, there's a good chance the caller is asking about a trip to Cuba.
We just had an American citizen who called us and asked us if he could go to Cuba before McDonald's gets there. So that kind of rush is going through people's mind.
Beginning Friday, Americans will be able to travel to the communist island with less government interference, but only if they fall into one of these dozen categories. At Miami International Airport, most of the people lined up to check into their Havana-bound flight were heading to see family with basic necessities in tow.
Anything you take to Cuba, it's needed. Anything.
Miosoti Martin hopes the easing of travel restrictions will make the trip more affordable.
To go to Cuba, it's a 45-minute flight, and you end up paying over $400 to travel, which is crazy.
There's going to be more Americans that will be traveling and more Americans that will be coming back and telling friends and relatives about their trip and experiences, and hopefully that'll generate more interest.
Bill Hoff owns Island Travel and Tours, a charter company that flies people to and from the island. While he thinks the new policy will require some clarification, he believes it's a long time coming.
It always seems to be so cruel to me that our country would keep families apart by saying you can only go visit your grandmother once every 3 years.
But Cuban-born U.S. Congresswoman Ileana Ros-Lehtinen released a statement which said in part, quote, "The Obama administration has once again opted to unilaterally ignore existing U.S. law in issuing these new regulations, and in doing so has provided an economic lifeline to the Cuban communist regime." Cuba has yet to say how many visitors it will allow on the island.
The ball is in Raul Castro's court.
The new policies announced today will also allow travelers to use debit and credit cards while in Cuba. They can also obtain insurance for their trip. And for those people looking to send money to the island, they can now send up to $2,000 every 3 months. Live at Miami International Airport, Lauren Pastrana, CBS 4 News Tonight.
Lauren, thank you.